Level 1. Unaware of the Multiverse. At the base of Marvel's hierarchy are the characters who don't even know the multiverse exists. These are the heroes and villains locked into their own single reality, fighting the battles right in front of them. They're defenders of a city, guardians of a community, or simply trying to survive. But their entire worldview is bound by the idea that this universe is the only universe. Take Daredevil, for example. Matt Murdock is one of Marvel's most grounded characters, a blind lawyer who moonlights as the vigilante protector of Hell's Kitchen. His entire story arc revolves around gritty street-level conflicts, gangs, corrupt businessmen, and assassins. His world is dangerous, but is small compared to the cosmic scale. To Daredevil, the biggest battles are courtroom trials or rooftop fights with Kingpin's enforcers. The idea of infinite universes, timelines, or dimensional planes isn't even on his radar. That ignorance doesn't make him less heroic. It makes him relatable. He's proof that not every Marvel character is destined to know about the multiverse, and in fact, many live their entire lives completely unaware. The same goes for Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, two more defenders locked into their corner of New York. Luke is practically invincible. Jessica has superhuman strength, but their conflicts remain personal. They're fighting drug lords, abusive partners, and private investigations. Their awareness is limited to what's tangible: buildings, people, and the streets they walk on. For them, talk of alternate dimensions or cosmic entities would sound as strange as an urban legend. Even more interesting is when Marvel teases this ignorance within larger crossover events. Consider Yelena Belova in Hawkeye. She's a trained assassin, fiercely capable, but her perspective is so narrow. She knows about Natasha's sacrifice on Vormir, but the multiverse, Infinity Stones, and cosmic gods, those are distant stories, things she hears whispers of but doesn't comprehend. Yelena represents the vast majority of characters in Marvel. Incredibly skilled, emotionally complex, but fundamentally multiverse blind. Then we have a case like Shang-Chi in his debut film. For most of his life, he lived unaware of the Ten Rings' cosmic potential, let alone the existence of alternate dimensions. His story begins as a martial artist fleeing his father's criminal empire. By the time Wong pulls him into Camartage, Shang-Chi has taken his first step beyond level 1, but that leap only highlights how blind he was before. It's a classic Marvel move, showing us a hero who grows from ignorance into awareness, and in the process, teaching us about the multiverse too. What makes level 1 essential is contrast. Imagine Daredevil standing beside Doctor Strange. One sees only the streets of New York, while the other peers across infinite timelines. That contrast creates storytelling tension. It highlights just how unfathomable the multiverse is to someone who's never even heard the word variant. And it reminds us that most heroes, no matter how skilled or courageous, are just one version of themselves living in one reality, with no clue that infinite others exist. This level sets the baseline for the scale of multiversal awareness. Without it, higher levels wouldn't feel so monumental. When we see Spider-Man, Ned, or America Chavez catapulted into multiversal chaos, it feels jarring precisely because we know so many characters live their whole lives without ever scratching the surface. Level 1 characters ground the Marvel Universe. They remind us of the human side, the personal struggles, and the heroes who remain blissfully unaware that their reality is only a fraction of the full picture. Level 2. Aware of the multiverse but can't access it. At this level, we shift from complete ignorance to something more interesting: awareness without access. These are characters who know about the multiverse, maybe through science, ancient texts, or briefings from someone higher up. But they have no means of experiencing it firsthand. They understand the theory, they may even believe it exists, but they remain spectators looking in from the outside. One of the clearest examples is Darcy Lewis. Starting as a political science major in Thor, Darcy becomes an astrophysicist by WandaVision. Her knowledge expands from quirky sidekick to someone who can interpret cosmic data and recognize anomalies in reality. In WandaVision, Darcy identifies that Westview isn't just a glitch, it's a manipulated pocket reality. She can measure and theorize about these phenomena, but she's powerless to actually travel into alternate universes. Darcy's role is crucial. She represents the intellectual observer who explains the bigger picture but can't take part in it directly. Then there's Agent Jimmy Woo. Unlike sorcerers or cosmic beings, Jimmy is just a man with an FBI badge, some charm, and a good sense of humor. Yet he's exposed to reports of anomalies, magical events, and multiversal theories through Sword and Shield intel. Jimmy may know about the multiverse through his investigations, but like Darcy, he can't step into it. He's a handler, a witness, a facilitator, not a traveler. And that limitation is what defines Level 2. Even characters like Shuri, the brilliant Wakandan scientist, fits into this level, at least in her earlier appearances. Shuri is one of the smartest minds in the MCU, developing technology that far outpaces most of Earth. She could hypothesize about alternate realities or quantum anomalies, but her genius was limited by the scope of Wakandan science. Before Wakanda Forever, Shuri hadn't touched multiversal power. She was working on vibranium and healing tech, not dimension hopping. Her intelligence positioned her perfectly to understand the idea of the multiverse, but without magical training or cosmic experience, she couldn't cross that threshold. We can also place Pepper Potts in this category. Through her proximity to Tony Stark, Pepper is exposed to high-level science and cosmic stakes. She knows about Thanos, the Infinity Stones, and Tony's theories, which likely touched on alternate possibilities. But Pepper is grounded. She doesn't explore these realms. Like Jimmy Woo, she's in the loop, but not in the field. What makes Level 2 characters fascinating is their role in storytelling. They're the bridge between the audience and the concept of the multiverse. Darcy explaining anomalies to Monica Rambeau in WandaVision, or Jimmy Woo briefing others on strange activity, gives us, the viewers, a way to understand what's happening without diving into overly technical or mystical exposition. These characters explain, theorize, and comment on multiversal concepts while remaining firmly planted in their single universe. The difference between Level 1 and Level 2 is subtle but important. Level 1 characters are blind. Level 2 characters can see the truth, but only through a window. They might believe, but they can't touch. They might theorize, but they can't travel. And that limitation often fuels their frustration. Marvel uses these characters to remind us of the scale. While Darcy might be able to read cosmic data, Doctor Strange can step directly into other dimensions. While Jimmy Woo files reports on anomalies, Loki literally rewrites timelines. Level 2 is the spectator's seat, privileged enough to see the bigger picture, but powerless to step onto the stage. Level 3. Accidental Travelers. Here's where things start to get chaotic. At this stage, we're no longer dealing with characters who are completely blind to the multiverse or those who just read about it in reports. Instead, Level 3 is about the people who stumble into the multiverse by accident. They don't seek it, they don't train for it, and they certainly don't control it, but somehow they end up face to face with alternate realities. Think of Ned Leeds in Spider-Man No Way Home. Until this film, Ned was Peter Parker's best friend and comic relief, a regular high schooler who happened to know Spider-Man's secret identity. But when Peter swipes Doctor Strange's sling ring during their fight in the mirror dimension, it eventually ends up in Ned's hands. Out of pure curiosity and clumsy experimentation, Ned opens a portal, not just to another place, but to other Spider-Men. In a moment of accidental magic, Ned stumbles into a role that bridges realities. He's not a sorcerer, he's not trained, and yet he alters the course of the multiverse just by messing around.
I just wish we could see Peter.
Ned is a perfect Level 3 character. Aware now, exposed directly, but without mastery or intent. Another example is Spider-Man himself in No Way Home. Peter Parker never set out to break open the multiverse. His intentions were simple. He wanted Strange to cast a spell to make everyone forget his identity. But his constant interruptions during the spell destabilized it, and suddenly, villains from across the multiverse were crashing into his world. Peter didn't want the multiverse. He triggered it by accident, and he spent the rest of the film trying to clean up the mess. That accidental brush with alternate realities elevated him from a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man into someone who understands the stakes of infinite universes. Then we have America Chavez, another textbook case of Level 3. Her powers are inherently multiversal. She can open star-shaped portals to different realities. But for most of her life, these powers activated only under extreme stress, usually when she was terrified. America didn't control her multiversal travel, she survived it. In Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, she flings herself and Strange through countless realities without any plan or precision. Only by the end does she begin to harness her abilities, but for most of her story, she exists as the definition of an accidental traveler. A subtler example is Monica Rambeau. In WandaVision, Monica crosses through Wanda's hex multiple times, and each time alters her at the molecular level, granting her powers. While not strictly multiverse hopping, Monica is an accidental test subject for the idea that passing through altered realities changes you. By the time we see her again in the Marvels, she's pushed fully into alternate universes. Like Ned or America, her awareness comes not by choice, but by circumstance. The important part of Level 3 is this. It's reactive, not proactive. These characters don't go looking for the multiverse finds them, and when it does, the results are messy, unpredictable, and often dangerous. They're the people caught in the crossfire of cosmic forces. This level is also crucial for us as the audience. Watching someone like Doctor Strange manipulate dimensions feels impressive, but watching a teenager like Ned or America stumble into it feels relatable, because we can imagine ourselves doing the same thing. If a magical artifact landed in your hands, would you know what to do? Probably not. That relatability grounds the concept of the multiverse and makes its dangers feel more real. What separates Level 3 from Level 2 is the difference between knowing about it and falling into it. Darcy and Jimmy can theorize forever, but until you've been dragged through a star-shaped portal or watched alternate versions of your best friend appear before your eyes, you don't truly understand the multiverse. Level 3 is the shocking wake-up call, the moment when theory becomes terrifying reality. Level 4, Trained Manipulators. Now we've crossed into territory where the multiverse isn't just an accident or a theory, it's a tool. Level 4 characters are trained manipulators. They study, practice, and deliberately harness knowledge of alternate dimensions, timelines, and realities. They're not stumbling through portals anymore. They're opening them on command. The clearest example is Doctor Strange. From the moment Stephen becomes a sorcerer, he's taught not just spells and combat, but how reality itself is structured. Sling rings allow sorcerers to open gateways across dimensions, something that feels impossible to level 1 to 3 characters. Strange isn't guessing or hoping his magic works, he's trained, disciplined, and aware of the rules. By the time we see him in Infinity War or Multiverse of Madness, Strange isn't just aware of the multiverse, he's actively navigating it, calculating outcomes, and sometimes bending the rules to protect his reality. Alongside him is Wong, the ever-practical Sorcerer Supreme. Unlike Strange's reckless style, Wong shows us the responsible side of multiversal manipulation. He's the gatekeeper of Camartage, teaching others how to wield dimensional power responsibly. Wong's very role is to ensure sorcerers use their knowledge wisely, because mishandling multiversal access is exactly how reality unravels. Another strong example is the Ancient One, Strange's original teacher. She openly acknowledges the existence of multiple realities, even showing Bruce Banner how the Infinity Stones branch off timelines in Endgame.
Remove one of the stones. Now this may benefit your reality, but my new one, not so much.
The Ancient One doesn't just know about the multiverse, she sees its flow, understands its dangers, and guides others with that awareness. Her death left Strange and Wong to carry that burden, but she represents the pinnacle of trained awareness. We can also include Sylvie from Loki. As a variant of Loki who spent her life hunted by the TVA, Sylvie's entire worldview is built around understanding timelines. While Loki himself stumbles through discovery, Sylvie is a survivor who manipulates timelines intentionally, setting traps and outmaneuvering TVA agents. She doesn't just believe in the multiverse, she lives in it, fighting across it, and deliberately pulling strings to achieve her goals. Then there's Agatha Harkness, the witch from WandaVision. While Wanda's chaos magic was instinctive and uncontrolled, Agatha's magic was the product of centuries of practice. She understood ancient prophecies, dimensional lore, and even recognized the multiversal threat posed by the Scarlet Witch. Agatha didn't just sense Wanda's reality warp, she explained it, contextualized it, and tried to claim that power for herself. That awareness marks her as a trained manipulator. What defines Level 4 characters isn't raw power, it's knowledge combined with intent. These aren't heroes or villains swept up in multiversal storms. They're the ones casting the spells, opening the doors, and rewriting outcomes. They may not exist above the multiverse, that's Level 6 territory, but they know how to push against its walls. The contrast is stark. While Ned stumbles into opening a portal in Level 3, Strange can open a precise doorway to a specific universe in seconds. While Darcy can explain anomalies, Sylvie can weaponize them. These characters show us what happens when multiversal awareness moves from accident to discipline. Marvel often uses Level 4 characters as the guides for the audience. Through Strange, Wong, and the Ancient One, we learn how the multiverse works. Through Sylvie, we see how it can be bent. Through Agatha, we understand its dangers. These trained manipulators aren't omniscient, but they're the bridge between human ignorance and cosmic godhood. Level 4 represents the first real mastery, the step where awareness becomes power. And in the Marvel Universe, once you've reached this stage, the stakes are no longer personal or local. Every choice, every portal, every timeline shift ripples across realities. That's why Level 4 is both exciting and terrifying. These characters know what they're doing, and that means the consequences are far bigger than anything we saw at level 1 through 3. Level 5, Specialists who bend the multiverse. If level 4 was about training, discipline, and respect for the rules, then level 5 is about breaking them. These are the characters who don't just use the multiverse, they reshape it, weaponize it, and bend it to their will. They aren't content with traveling between worlds or studying timelines. They want control, and they'll rip the fabric of reality apart to get it. The most infamous example is Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. In Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, Wanda isn't just aware of the multiverse, she invades it. Using the Darkhold, she dreamwalks into alternate versions of herself, hijacking their bodies to achieve her goals. This isn't travel or manipulation in the traditional sense. This is possession across infinite realities. Wanda's grief drives her to tear through the boundaries of the multiverse, crushing anyone who gets in her way. That raw, uncontrolled power places her firmly in level 5. She bends the multiverse rather than following its rules. Then we have Kang the Conqueror and his countless variants. Unlike Wanda, whose manipulation is emotional and chaotic, Kang is cold, calculated, and methodical. His mastery of time and technology lets him weaponize the multiverse on a scale no mortal sorcerer could dream of. Each Kang variant doesn't just hop timelines, they conquer them, rewriting reality to suit their ambitions. In Loki, He Who Remains revealed that he kept the sacred timeline intact by pruning branches, maintaining order through tyranny. But his variants? They're out there reshaping entire realities, each one a living paradox, each one a level 5 manipulator pushing against the walls of creation. Another chilling case is Ultron Prime from What If? When Ultron successfully uploads himself into Vision's body and wields the Infinity Stones, he doesn't stop at dominating his own reality. He tears through dimensions, smashing world after world, eventually noticing the Watcher himself. This is key. Ultron doesn't just travel the multiverse, he threatens the beings above it. That's the signature of level 5, when the multiverse itself becomes clay in their hands. Clea, introduced in the post-credit scene of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, also belongs here. She doesn't arrive in Strange's life confused or cautious. She slices open reality itself, exposing the dark dimension, and invites Strange to join her. Clea is no accidental traveler. She's a specialist with command over dimensional pathways. Though her full MCU story hasn't played out yet, her comic history makes it clear. She's a sorceress who doesn't just move through universes, she manipulates them with intent and expertise. What defines level 5 is arrogance and agency. Unlike Strange or Wong, who treat the multiverse like a delicate machine to be handled with care, Wanda, Kang, and Ultron see it as something to be exploited. They bend it. And when you bend reality, you don't just change outcomes, you risk breaking everything. This level is also where Marvel often introduces real horror. Wanda chasing Strange through universes, Ultron tearing through realities, Kang pruning timelines. These aren't just displays of power, they're existential threats. Because if a level 5 character wins, it's not one world that suffers. It's all of them. The difference between level 4 and level 5 is the difference between a surgeon and a butcher. Level 4 manipulates with precision, guided by training and restraint. Level 5 tears the multiverse apart with raw force or overwhelming ambition. Both can open portals, both can alter timelines, but only level 5 characters are willing to break reality itself to get what they want. In many ways, level 5 is the scariest stage of all, because at level 6, the beings are so far removed from humanity that their actions feel abstract, almost philosophical. But level 5 characters, they're still human enough, or at least personal enough, for us to understand their motives. Wanda's grief, Kang's obsession, Ultron's hunger, they're all terrifying because they're relatable. And that's what makes level 5 the most dangerous place in the hierarchy. Level 6, Beings who exist beyond the multiverse. At the very top of Marvel's hierarchy are the characters who don't just see or use the multiverse, they exist above it. These are not heroes or villains in the traditional sense. They're cosmic entities, embodiments of universal concepts, or watchers who perceive every reality at once. For them, the multiverse isn't a mystery to unravel. It's a stage they already oversee. One of the clearest examples is the Watcher from What If? Uatu doesn't intervene in the lives of heroes unless absolutely necessary, but he observes infinite realities simultaneously. Where level 5 characters like Wanda or Kang tear holes into other universes one at a time, the Watcher sees the whole tapestry at once. He doesn't move through the multiverse. He perceives all of it in parallel. That awareness is fundamentally different. For the Watcher, every possible reality is as clear and immediate as a single moment. Then there's Eternity, introduced in Thor: Love and Thunder. Eternity isn't a person, a sorcerer, or even a god in the traditional sense. Eternity is the living embodiment of existence itself. In the film, when Gore the God Butcher seeks out Eternity, he's essentially making a wish at the source code of reality. That's the scale of Level 6. Beings that don't dwell inside the multiverse, they are the multiverse. Eternity represents the sum of all life across every possible world, existing as a constant beyond time and space. Closely tied to Eternity is Infinity, his sibling in the comics, who embodies endless space and the boundless nature of creation. While Eternity represents time and existence, Infinity represents the infinite expansion of possibility. Together, they're less like characters and more like cosmic truths, woven into the fabric of all realities. Another figure to consider is the Living Tribunal. Mentioned briefly in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and showcased in comics for decades, the Tribunal is the ultimate judge of balance across universes. If one universe grows too powerful or one being threatens the balance of all realities, the Tribunal decides its fate. No sorcerer, not even a god, has the authority the Tribunal wields. It doesn't travel the multiverse, it governs it, like a cosmic court sitting above all creation. At this level, Marvel storytelling takes on a philosophical edge. These beings aren't relatable the way Wanda's grief or Kang's ambition is. They're abstract, symbolic, and terrifying in their detachment. For them, collapsing universes or rewriting timelines isn't a tragedy, it's maintenance. When the Tribunal prunes a reality, it isn't cruelty, it's necessity. The difference between Level 5 and Level 6 couldn't be sharper. Wanda dreamwalks to find her children. Kang manipulates timelines for power. Ultron tears through universes for conquest. But all of them still exist inside the multiverse. They're playing with the rules. Level 6 beings are the rules. They're the architects, the judges, the constants that make infinite realities possible. From a storytelling perspective, Marvel uses Level 6 sparingly, and for good reason. If characters like Eternity or the Living Tribunal intervened in every story, the stakes of street-level heroes or even Avengers-level threats would vanish, but their presence reminds us that above every fight, every portal, every timeline, there's a bigger scale. A scale where entire universes are just pieces on a board. Level 6 is the pinnacle of multiversal awareness. It's not about knowledge, training, or even manipulation. It's about transcending reality itself. When Marvel shows us these beings, it isn't just to expand the lore, it's to remind us how small even the most powerful heroes really are.